So I'm going to invite you to come up to the middle of Market Square to start. Make our way up to the, what is that, obelisk? Oh, and Ben might need his guitar. Bit of a giveaway. Yeah. I have to say, we're using radio headphones for various reasons, just so you don't have to faff about with your phones and apps and all that business. Sometimes the signal gets a bit fuzzy, don't worry about that. If it persists though, and you think I've got a dodgy set, like when you go to the Dodgems and they give you the slow one, just wave again and we can swap them out. Right, that's enough of that music. There are benches. We're going to spend a few moments here because there's a couple of items to start with. Might as well use them benches once you can. Here we go.
It was Market Square to us. It was never Fleming Square. Everybody says Fleming Square, but it's Market Square. My grandmother and grandfather lived on Camp Street, which is just off there. So we spent a lot of time up there in that area where you're setting off from. And I mean, you know, when we were young, the caravan families that used to come, they used to use my grandmother's electricity, and you know, we got on well with all the fair families. And
my biggest memory here is Carnival. Back in the day when we had a really big carnival, this would just be packed, absolutely packed with floats, and everyone doing their acts and the comedy acts and being judged. And it would set off.
It used to start at the end of Eaglesfield there. This was them lining up along there, up there, round there, and then up there.
Occasionally there'll be people, you know, the groups of the rugby teams used to grab you and put you in the cage, and I used to be terrified. I was thinking,
Well, they had serious acts like carnival floats that were all made up in carnival queens, and then they had mainly comedy acts. So
all the pubs.
No, it wouldn't be politically correct. Yeah. But it was mainly the rugby clubs and the pubs.
The rugby clubs used to dress up as women.
Yeah.
And the carnival.
They still do it.
It's the only way you get a gang of lads to rehearse a dance routine in Maryport for like 8 weeks before. You know, they'd all be there.
They'd practice for months.
Down
at Netherall, they'd be practicing for months and months.
That top end was always the bigger rides. You know, you always got what we called the speedway. You know, the bikes and the waltzer things. You know, you sat in like a cup thing, and people used to spin you around. And then there was a rib tickler. They were always at that top end, those big rides. And then the middle was always the smaller ones, the kids' things, the little roundabouts, and your candy floss and your all that sort of stuff. But the square itself absolutely full. And the best part about it as well, when they took all the fare down, all us kids used to go and search around in the cobblestones for all the money that had been dropped. Because people always drop money, didn't they? You know, I mean, so as soon as all the big rides were taken down, the kids were there like locusts.
Number 2, Fleming Square. True crime drama coming up from 1855.
The Carlisle Patriot, Saturday 11th of August 1855. Shooting with intent to murder at Maryport. Fleming Coward, aged 37, reads and writes well, was indicted for feloniously shooting at James McNeill with intent to kill and murder him at Maryport on the 14th March last. James McNeill was called and examined. He said, "I am the brother-in-law of the prisoner. He sailed for Australia about April 1853. He told me he was going, and I tried to dissuade him from it. His wife and family remained behind. Shortly after, his wife sailed for Australia in the Lord George Bentinck. Captain Joseph Robinson was the master of that ship. In January of this year, the prisoner returned to this country. On Tuesday, the 27th February, I was at home. The prisoner came to my house about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He walked right into the room where I was sitting. He spoke instantly and charged me with sending his wife to Australia. He said I'd put him in a bad position by sending his wife out to Australia. I then said I'd had nothing whatever to do with sending his wife out. He said, "Oh, but you had. You must give me £500. I must have the money, as all my money is gone." He said his wife had conducted herself badly on the voyage with Captain Robinson. His language and demeanour were violent, thumping the table and walking about. He was never at my house again until Wednesday, 14th March. Between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a knock came to the door and I opened it. I allowed it to open wide. He then said, "Well, are you going to give me that £500? I said, "Of course, I do nothing of the kind." He replied, "Then I'll blow your brains out." After he'd spoken, he put his hand into the side pocket of his coat and took out a pistol. I grasped the barrel and pushed him before me into the street. We struggled so till about the middle of the street. Just as I let go the pistol, I cried, "Murder!" When I let go the pistol, I ran up Eaglesfield Street. He followed closely. He fired the pistol at me. He was perhaps 3 yards from me at that time. Just as he did so, I gave a slip and the ball did not hit me. We both stood steady for a second or two. I looked about myself and could not see any harm done. He then very coolly put his hand in his pocket and took out another pistol. I ran into High Street. I could hear him coming after me. As I could get my breath, I called out, "Murder," 2 or 3 times. I ran for a door in Mrs. Dickinson's yard in Kirby Street. When I came to the door, I tried to open it, but I could not. Just at that moment, I faced round and saw the prisoner standing within 2 yards of me. He lifted his hand and quietly took his aim at me and fired. I was hit in the breast. The bullet had entered my breast and it was taken out from under my armpit. There were also particles of my clothing came out of the wound and a piece of watchguard about a fortnight later. Witnesses were called and examined. Joseph Hall, policeman. I apprehended him at Maryport and charged him with shooting Mr. McNeil. He said, "I have. They have robbed me of my wife, of my money, and of my home, and of all the pleasures of this world." He said they had robbed him of £500. He said, "I know I shall be hanged, but death is preferable to being as I am. I have done with McNeil, and if I could have seen Robinson, I would have done for him and all." When I apprehended the prisoner, he was in a very excited state. His Lordship, in summing up, observed that the learned counsel had based his defence on the plea that the prisoner's mind was affected. His Lordship said the act was evidently not one of insanity, it was an act of deliberation. No doubt the prisoner conceived at the time displeasure at his wife's conduct, but whether she was deserving of that displeasure was totally unknown to the court. If the jury considered that when he fired the pistol he intended to take away the life of James McNeil, they owed it to the oath they had taken before God to find him guilty of the offence with which he was charged. The jury almost immediately returned a verdict of guilty. His Lordship asked for the sentence of death to be recorded but commuted. His Lordship informed the prisoner, "You will not be executed. You will not be hanged." The prisoner replied, "Well, my lord, I much prefer that to a long sentence." The prisoner was then removed from the dock.
true story from a local paper, court report from 1855, and it happened in that house there and in those streets, ladies and gentlemen. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the next moment is a live one, and we're very, very lucky to have Ben Akehurst with us, ladies and gentlemen, who's just turning his microphone on. Here we go. Keep pressing it in, Ben.
Hello. Hey, there you go.
Welcome, Ben.
How's it going, everybody? So this is one of my own songs. This one's called Once More. I hope you like it. I wrote this about, I suppose it applies to quite a lot of the pubs around Maryport, so I wrote it about, like, you know, spending time with girls and that. It's not as sad as it probably sounds like, but I hope you enjoy it.
Found you like you have done twice before. I drown you, thoughts and feelings, but you don't care. I want you more than I ever did. I've said it once or twice or 300 times. Cause she's 180 with 2 dots. I think I'll make her run for it, but I just can't hold on no more. And I'm scared to smile at you in case you catch my eye. And my house is desperate for your loving now. I want you, but no one else can ever know. I've said it once or twice, 300 times. Yeah, I want you, but no one else can ever know. And there's places, because of you, I can never go. Cause she's 180 with 2 dots. I think I'll make her run for it, but I just can't hold on no more. No drugs will flush her out. I do so many evil things just to see that smile once more. Once more. Once more.
Thank you very much, everybody. Cheers. Thank you. See, I normally have a little foot drum. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I kept like taking my foot drum as I kept going. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.
And backing seagulls, Ben. We didn't expect that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be better if it was the seagull song, you know what I mean? But not for that one.
We're going this way, ladies and gentlemen.
I am just a human, and this is just the earth. None of us will stop its turning. We come and we go, in and out, like the tide. But sometimes there's an echo, if you listen. Something left behind, bounced back, if you listen. If you listen. Carnival queens and blues men, Fleming Square's finest, thousands of tiny tissue papers stuck and stitched in a fish scale pattern across the metal skeleton of an Eddie Stobbart. Hard men, big men, dressed and dancing, grass and rah-rah skirts, bare-chested, sunglasses, smiling, and in his hand a cheeky can of Stella. Little lasses with flowers and garlands, all here, together.
The door for the takeaway was there, and I lived there, and this 121 was sort of the store and the where we lived.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
And what was it called?
The Hong Kong takeaway. Then my dad got a job at Workington on Haggill, as it was called, and he got a job as a chef there. And he came to Maryport looking for premises, and Harold and Ruby Brown had a fish shop and said, yes, I'll sell you the shop, you can have it for £2 a week. So my dad said, oh, it's a big risk, but yeah, we'll go for it. And then for fish and chips. And apparently the story is that when there were 2 people in the shop, they locked the door because they panicked, because they couldn't cope with any more people. So they had to serve those 2 people, let them out, and then do another 2. A lot of people in Maryport say, oh, remember you sat under the counter in a cardboard box, and we used to lift the hatch and you were sat under the counter. So that when I was really, really small. But yeah, it was, it gave us the work ethic that we've got. No excuses, you get on, you work, and do your best.
Yeah, and we're looking... So that was
119, 121 Crosby Street.
Did you say
Olive.
Yeah.
Olive.
Fruit and vegetable shop. It's on that side.
Olive's vegetable shop.
Fruit and vegetable, yeah. She was. How many years was it open?
Couple of
Yeah.
paces down.
It's the one with the plain brick, because
She was a lovely lady. You always used to have a nice friendly chat with her.
Yeah, she was.
she used to stand on the doorstep. Hello, Debbie. She took it over.
She's going to come out.
Oh, little impromptu.
Hello, darling.
You're right. Hello. How are you?
We're just in the history of your shop.
Oh, right, okay. Swooch, sorry about that. Come here, Swooch.
So we're making an audio venture, sort of audio walk. And we're coming
right.
Fleming Square down here, turning right down to the quay.
Oh,
Everyone
cool.
remembers this.
As Bobby
As Bobby
before your
Rich's, yeah. Well, yeah.
Was it Bobby Rich's?
It was Bobby Rich's when I took it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called Her City, because that's an anagram of Ritchie. So we found the letters in the cellar.
Yeah.
And I thought they belonged here, and we jumbled them up, and the only thing we could come up with was Her City. There was 2 options. Her City was the better one of the 2. However, I later found out he owned Tom Little's on the corner, and that was actually called Ritchie's, and he took them off there to store here. But he used to work here when it was the co-op. It was an old co-op building, and he worked there as a young lad, and then he decided to buy it off the co-op, and he set up like a bit of a deli shop. He was like the first guy to like roast his own coffee beans. He had this old ham machine that he brought over from Italy. He did this like sliced ham, cooked ham, and he was so well known, like everybody knew Bobby Ritchie. And I just felt it was really important to keep the heritage
And you found stuff
alive.
in the cellar?
Yeah, and we found the letters.
What else did you find in the cellar?
Oh, well, he actually came back for the ham machine. He actually came back for the machinery. He's like, I want that machinery. He was quite shrewd. But yeah, he was a really interesting character, and even like when he was in his like 90s, early 90s, he came by, just had a big birthday, and he came by with a bit of cake for me, and yeah, it was nice, really sweet. But he passed away about 4 years ago. Yeah, he lived into his well into his 90s. So yeah, it was a character.
Wow, thanks very much.
That's the story.
That's an amazing story. Brilliant. Thank you.
Is that all right?
We'll be back.
Thanks, Debbie.
All right, no problem.
So that was the Lion and Lamb.
Another pub.
Another pub.
That's the one with the slaughterhouse bit.
And that was the Lion and Lamb, and Netherall Rugby Union Club, when they formed in about 1965. I don't think they had anywhere to play themselves, so they played on the school pitches and got changed down there. So they bought that to be the clubhouse. So my dad, Yoy Chimmins, I think it was John Kilgour, I can't remember the names of all of them. So they bought it. Now that was that picture I sent you.
Yes.
So there's the 4 of them stood in front of that in the drain pipes and the teddy bear Teddy Boy Quiffs,
60.
when they just bought it in about 64, 65, I think. So I was born 67, and 67 was the year they won the Cumbria Cup. So they hadn't been going that long as a rugby union team. So before that, the only place you could play rugby union was to go to Cockermouth or Keswick or Workington. So they set Netherall Old Boys Rugby Union club up.
Poem that you're hearing has been written by a West Cumbrian poet called Emma McGordon.
I am just a human and this is just the earth, but we all leave stories in the sand. And there's Lyle Olive on the shop front, arms folded across her tabard, apples and cherries, paper bags and people's lives. Tell your mum I'm asking after her. Tell her I understand how we're all just getting on with it, whatever the Solware blows in. There's houses behind the nooks and the crannies, all just cobbled together. This was a shop for a while, then a house, then a shop, now house. It all keeps changing. Changing hands, changing money, changing times. I am just a human, and this is just the earth, ever shifting, ever spinning. We rearrange the letters and we find another name. It's all an anagram, really. Her city, Richie. Depends on how you look at it. Fathers and sons in rugby blazers, proud, standing next to fathers and sons in rugby blazers. Union for a change. Get among it, lads. And lasses now and all. Passing the ball, fielding it out to the wingers, to the try, to the glory, to the pie and to the peas, to a pint and to a pat on the back. You've just got to get on with it. That's what we did. That's what we do. One foot in front of another. Out of one pub and into another. Nobody remembers why we called it, what we called it. But remember, that is what we called it. Knockers, Star Wars bar, bubbles, top tap, bottom tap. Doors have closed now. Last orders rung out like a foghorn warning. But maybe, if the light catches the wind blown just right, you'd see there's some ghosts lost among the mist and time, playing snooker or dominoes in the back room. Some old fella in a suit, long past closing. Old boys with a cup. Nice sauce of mine.
Just down there, ladies and gentlemen, used to be a very famous venue called the Palace. We're not going down there. I'm just pointing, because we need to stay on this route. But the Palace was a legendary music venue, became the Civic Hall. And this is Robin Melville, founder member of Billy Steele and the Strollers.
Jim English on bass, Billy Steele, David Stubbs and John Manchester. You are my sunshine, my we started that, it was in the dance band days where it was the dance bands played every Saturday, and we used to go and watch them, and allowed us to play in the interval when they had time off, and we did our half-hour stint then, and we got more popular, so they put us on for a spot later on, and eventually we took over and doing the full night ourselves. And that's where it was the start of the end of the dance band era, really. We played alongside some of the most popular people in the country that came here. The Hollies, Searchers, Sounds Incorporated, Lulu, The Animals, Wayne Fontana and the Mind Benders, Billy J. Kramer, loads of people that were popular at the time. When the pubs used to shut at 10 o'clock at night, and everybody used to come to the palace to dance because it didn't finish till 11:30, 11:45. So we got up to 1,000 in Bain.
Was there a bar?
No, just soft drinks and crisps. No, the palace never had a license for a drink at all. The Beatles never got here, but he was going to bring the Rolling Stones on a Tuesday, but he asked someone which day of the week he got paid, and the person he asked worked at the barter, a factory, and they got paid on a Wednesday. He said, well, people have no money to come here on a Tuesday if they get paid on a Wednesday, so he didn't bring them. And he was going to have to charge 10 shillings to get in. And it ended up being a civic hall. To my mind, they didn't have that much interest in it, really. It just sort of faded away, really, and but it seems strange from its inception in 1934 to 2008, when it was knocked down. There's nothing in this town to say it was ever there. All that history and all the bands that played here.
Robin Melville, ladies and gentlemen. And so that's Maryport's musical past. And Maryport's musical future. Ben Akehurst again, who's going to turn his mic on and join us for his second song. Keep going.
Hello. Hey.
Oh, hello.
How's it going? Me again, everybody. How you going?
We should go home. That's not gonna happen anytime soon with you, she said. For once, it's alright. The morning's not really my concern tonight. How well do you know me? With a smile like that, you should know I'm barely in the room. Come on, we're moving on. She's better than me at all the worst things in the best way. Eyes down, legs up. Oh, I could think of worse ways to see you, I said. Come on, we're moving on. Just don't think I won't do everything you want.
Thank you, everybody. Cheers. Thank you. That was nice and short and sweet, so I hope you enjoyed that one. 3 chords all the way through as well. So I am a genius in my own way. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Ben. We're going to make our way this way, ladies and gentlemen. We have to cross 2 roads, so please take care. There's a drop curb here. We're going to go across to Knockers. Nothing in this town goes by the name on the door. We have discovered this. Lots of you knew that. I didn't. So we're going to go across here. Marvellous.
I remember me and my friends being very aware of it when we were 16, about how to do the things that we were reading about in The Enemy and all those kind of things. It didn't really happen in Maryport and round here. So like, I mean, it's great now because festivals they're just sort of part of our fabric of living in this country, really. It's great that we have a festival culture now, but back then it was quite strange because, you know, like a beer festival wasn't really a thing, or a food festival weren't really things. But I remember when the blues festival happened here, I think that's one of the best things that's ever happened to this town that I've seen whilst I lived here, because it brought out, you know, pretty much all in the town came to the blues festival, and it attracted in lots of other people from across the world, really, you know, and people like Van Morrison played here and Chuck Berry played here, which when you're, you know, 16, 17 is quite a thing to some of the people, the albums you're listening to. You know, I remember listening to old Chuck Berry records, and then him playing Maryport just seemed completely bizarre.
Cellar 5 used to be the off-licence in what's the Polish shop now. And again, in the 80s, it was the place that all the kids went to get their illicit booze.
Yeah.
Bottles of 2020 and Thunderbird.
Yeah. This place here, above the Polish shop now,
Yeah.
the Polish shop, this is the house of the first vicar of St Mary's church down the way.
The posh church.
Yes. And he took the plot of land from Humphrey House, and he built this house. However, he was a bad lad. And for 5 years he didn't bother filling in the parish registers for all the births, deaths and marriages. So,
nightmare for a local
so there's a gap in the local history thing. But it's next to the pub. And he liked to drop a drink. And eventually he was so bad he was defrocked, and they got rid of him because he was so drunk and so bad. His job.
Anita.
Hello, Anita.
Hello.
Very nice to hear you. So, you're in Portugal?
Yes.
But you've got lovely, strong memories of where we are now in Maryport right now. What do you miss most about Maryport then?
The sea and family. The sea and family.
Family.
We live in Malaga. Not in the city, in the province of Malaga, a place called Torrox. It's just outside Nerja. People seem to know Nerja. Quite a lot of Maryport people come. We used to have a maintenance and rental business, so we used to rent out lots of apartments to Maryport folk. So, well, we all spent a lot of time in Rafferty's. I mean, that was the best place for a hot Vimto. And my grandmother loved bingo, and Rafferty's had a bingo sessions. So I used to walk down and meet her and walk her home, either from the Carlton, which, you know, the Carlton building that's on the corner there, right opposite Wright's.
I used to go as a child to Quato's and buy a patty, and my mum used to try and think what's in their patties, because my mum and dad did patties but they were different, so there was a little bit of friendly rivalry, shall we say. So I used to get sent to Quato's, we used to buy a patty, they're nice, they're different from ours, but they're nice, and everybody raved about Quatos patties.
I can remember Emily sitting in the chip shop making the patties. Yeah, oh, they were fabulous, fabulous. You still couldn't get a better patty than them, I'll tell you. We used to run out of that cinema. Everybody used to not watch the end of the film just about to get into Quatos in the queue, so that all the patties didn't run out.
Absolutely, yeah. My mum and dad would agree. They were made to feel very welcome. They were really well supported. The customers were very, very loyal. They had the best time. Yeah, they did. And you know, this is home for them and always will be. You know, it's they would go back to Hong Kong for holidays and to see family, but they felt that this was their home and this is where they would stay. Right. Yeah.
It's hard to explain really, because it's always going to be home. You know, to me, I've lived 30 years in Spain, but I still say I'm going home, you know, when I'm going home to Maryport.
Just get on with it. We all just muck in, make it our own. A recipe for community. Chinese, Italian, Spanish. It's not where you're from, it's that you're here. Special fried rice and a Quatos. A patty, it's just a bit of fish between potatoes. But there's a secret, never spoken, not even by the River Ellen's mouth, who takes all our secrets to sea, brings them back on a turned tide, sounding like a different whisper. I am just a human, and this is just the earth. And they say every seagull is a sailor's soul. Nobody knows how long they've got, how many names will be forgot, how many faces changed and gone. If GBH cut your hair short or you kept it long.
Lots of smiles about those haircuts. So, ladies and gentlemen, another number from Ben. He's just turning on. There's a reason he's over there. Are you with us, Ben? Keep pressing it in.
Hello.
Yeah.
It takes 3 times to figure that out by now.
Why are you over there, Ben? Why are you over there?
Am I supposed to be here? Yeah.
Yeah, you are definitely meant to be.
Oh yeah, because this song, I wrote it about this spot, the top tap. Well, this one's called Fold. There's not much to it really, apart from, well, I wrote it about spending time with a girl that I liked. I fell in love there a little bit, so I wrote that about it. So I hope you enjoy it.
And as the lights come on, I'm wishing we could stay here longer. Have you nowhere else to be? I can tell by your grin that you do. All the people stared and nod. I'd flip them off as you go red, and the goths cry and the chavs fly. You're the only moon I'll ever see. And I thought maybe we'll get somewhere, and I tried to go, but you're already there. Seems I don't care for much. I always thought when I met your eyes Have you nowhere else to be? I can tell by your grin that you do. And I said, do you fancy coming in for a while? And I laughed to myself, 'cause you've been gone for a mile.
Thank you, everybody.
Bravo, Ben.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cross this road and head down Senhouse, so do watch out for the traffic, obviously. The seagulls seem to have given up. I think they were... Oh no, spoke too soon. They're following us. We're going to head down here, please. Just watch the road. Lovely. Thank you, Ben. Very different musical offer here. This is Ewinrig Community Choir with a song called Ship of the Line, written by Ian Cannett.
There's a million lights in the harbour. See how they sparkle and shine. On a clear moonlit night, it's a beautiful sight from the rail of a ship of the line. Ship of the line, majestic and fine, queen of the oceans you roam. There's someone I need, so please with all speed won't you take me and carry me home. There's a girl who lives on a hillside, deep in the Cambrian fells. She promised she'd wait, but it may be too late, so the ship of the line served me well. Ship of the line, majestic and fine, queen of the oceans you roam. There's someone I need, so please with all...
Down Street, or Doon Street, is the seed of the town. It doesn't exist as a street name or as a postcode, not even a council ward. It was, and still is, a community. Now, way back in the 1890s, a fellow called T.P. Marshall wrote a series of articles in the summer of 1895 for the Maryport Advertiser. And these were his memories of being a teenager in Maryport in the 1860s. And this is one that he wrote about the Back Brow Pump in Down Street.
The Back Brow Pump. The pedigree of many a happy family in Maryport had its beginnings in a casual meeting in the sloppy purlieu of the ancient pump, and many a wretched home owes its existence to a courtship inaugurated when sent at Backbrow for a tin of water. It was at once Cupid's court and the gossip shop of the town, the place where sweethearts met and love began, where scandal reared its hydra head, and where tongues would wag until everybody knew everybody's affairs. The original pump was a wheezy, asthmatic affair constructed of wood, which groaned and trembled every time its handle was moved. To work that pump was as bad as being sent into penal servitude. This was no joke, for the Backbrow pump was the only source of public water supply in the town, that is, water fit for domestic purposes. It was quite enough for the lads and lasses to do to carry their heavy tins of water that way yam without having their hands skinned and their shoulders almost wrenched out of their joint.
Confounding great fight!
What's the grunting that? That grabbers like a bear with a sourine.
Give thee a stop at lung if thou doesn't mind while they're slatting.
You shut
Oh,
up.
give on
Get
you.
away, it's my tune.
Mind that tin of me, I'll ring the snoot for that.
Now then, make way or I'll drown out lot of you.
You keep
Performed by members of the group, ladies and gentlemen, some of whom are amongst us. I won't point them out, but yes, round of applause, fantastic performance. And we're going to cross the road to see Colin Telfer's statue. We're going to watch the road here. We're going to cross over to have a look at a statue he made called A Fishy Tale. And the group had a look at that and thought, what's going on there? What could be happening? What's being said in that scene? And they had great fun making that up, scripting it and recording it. So we're going to hear that little audio scene now. If we make our way along the bridge, making room for members of the public, but just get a good squint at this lovely, lovely statue. Jerry, Jimmy, I think it was, little Mitch and a dog. Yeah, if you come round here, you're standing there, you've got a good view. We decided to call the dog Betty. Little terrier's called Betty. So this is what they made of this scene.
A fishy tale. On the harbour, Freddie's asking Jimmy about his catch. Mitch and his dog Betty look on.
You alright there, lad? You caught out?
Aye, why, what you after? There's a lot I've got, but you should have seen what got away. Biggest scat I've ever seen. 9 foot wide it was.
9 foot? Give our man. There's been on drink.
Yes, you know. Why do you think he's sat down?
Oh, you cheeky log, Git. Come here, I'll cut a yard off you.
So what's crack about this 9 foot scat then?
9 foot? In his dreams.
I won't tell you again, lad.
Anyway, what you got in that basket then, Mr. 9 foot?
Aye, let's have a look. Oh, that's a lobster, lad. Keep clear or it'll nip your finger off. I'll give you 10 bob for it.
10 bob? A pound and it's yours.
A pound? Thou's thinking of that great scat that got away. I'll give you 11.
11. 15 and a pint at Navy Club.
Meanwhile, while the men are haggling, the dog and the lobster have a chat.
Who's your fettle?
This is an outrage. There I was, bottom of the Solway, courting a rather nice young lady in my rather splendid blue coat, when these buffoons dragged me to the surface in a pot.
Oh, that's hard luck, that, pal. What do they call you?
Humphrey.
That's a funny name.
What do you mean? For a lobster?
No, it's just a funny name.
Here, get that dog off my lobster.
Get that lobster off my dog.
It's away for a swim.
Oh, poor Jerry's lost his lobster. But he decided to just get on with it.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen, a fishy tale. We're going to make our way along here to the end of the quay.
I remember Dad went in when they were in the 70s on Carnival Day.
People talking about swimming off this bridge.
And my uncle, who was nearly in his 80s at the time. But everybody used to go in.
Everybody's rotten drunk, aren't they? And
Yeah.
it just kind of disperses.
I don't think there was as much mud in those days.
But my memories of swimming in here in the 70s, the town sewers used to come out of that hole there. You see there's a bricked up arch. And you had to time your swim so it wasn't when they released the
You
sewers.
weren't meeting what was coming floating.
Yeah, you'd just get all kinds coming out.
I see it every day, but it looks different every day.
And what's your favourite thing about it?
Just, I mean, now with the light conditions now, it's kind of silhouetted, so you can't really see the field boundaries very well. But in the morning, you can see the cliffs, you can see all the field boundaries. It looks green if it's a sunny day. But every day it looks different. The colours are different depending on the clouds in the sky and what time of day it is. Shortly it's going to be starting to go a little bit orange because the sun's going to be sinking. You can see it's a little bit pink. Even as we're walking down here, the colour is changing. It's going a little bit pink now. And in half an hour it's going to be orange, I imagine, tonight.
Sunsets that take your breath away. Skies of orange, red, pink and purple. It's a view to do for. To see a Maryport sunset, Jans, will make your day.
As I've got older, the more I come back here, the landscape of the area is the thing that sort of stays with me. And whenever I come back here and walk down by the prom or look out across the shipping brow and things, just the view of that sea and things, it just, I don't know, it just instantly makes me feel calm and just being beside the sea, and that sound is just, even now, it's just like one of the most instantly soothing sounds that I know.
In 1997, we opened our doors, but the project started a bit earlier than that. When I first saw it was completely bare. A local man by the name of Eric Martin, who was closely involved with the refurbishment of the dock area, came to visit me. I already had an aquarium business in North Wales where he took his holidays, and he just said, if you're ever thinking of building another one, please come and see us in Maryport. We'll make you very welcome. So the opportunity arose a few years after that, and when I did come up here, I thought it could make a very good location for an aquarium, and he was quite right. I was made very welcome. Like any business, you have to look after it. You have to look after your customers. You have to move with the times. They don't run themselves, and this is pretty specialist. So I'm lucky to have a really good team of people working here. We've certainly got, had mothers and daughters. Particularly mothers and daughters working in the cafe or in retail or reception. I mean, there's a mother and daughter working today. My retail manager, Janet, and her daughter, Chris. Yeah. So I know at one point we had 3 mothers and daughters working simultaneously. If you know people have visited you and leave with more knowledge and more awareness, and in some cases, it's young children who maybe get fired up for the first time, an interest gets started that is then with them forever. So although it's a business and it has to be profitable to survive, if you know you're actually doing something like that for society as well, for some people, it's very satisfying. So I mean, today is actually an older couple, not without children, and I got chatting to them, and they wanted to know about seashells, and they described about 6 different seashells, which I could tell them what they were, and I could see they were really pleased that these mysteries were solved for them. And it was easy for me because I've done it all my life, and sometimes it's a kind of knowledge you don't easily find in books, and even with good pictures, if they can actually see the things in our aquarium, it all literally comes alive. Yes, yeah, it's like an octopus, big octopus. This is our logo, which is, it's got its tentacles kind of lovingly around me, and if I try and take one tentacle off, there's always another one hanging on. Yeah, I mean, I'm 70 now, so it would be foolhardy of me to just think, oh, I'm going to go on, unlike anyone else, I'm going to go on forever. It would really be irresponsible if I didn't have, if you like, an exit strategy that allows the aquarium to continue on in the right hands, and I'm sure, I hope, do go on to do even better. entertain people, educate people, employ local people, be a hub on the harbour for all sorts of activities.
I am just a human. This is just the earth. And look, there's a boat in. Chalaris, Place, Skate, Turbot. A treasure chest of a catch. Innovation, going forward, moving with the times. And if not, we'll do what they once did. Send it in sideways. Send it out to sea. And at the end of our everyday, there's our Alauna. Some say dance to you. A swift half and every end up way down. Rolled home at crack of dawn, others say. Did they stop out?
And there is the Chalaris, I think. Wow, that's lucky. Here we are, we've got the story of the Alauna Aura sculpture. And here's a story from the people who made it.
Quite an interesting story as to how we came about getting that commission, because we have a caravan up at the Mull of Galloway, and we did a large fire pit lit with lights instead of fire as an entrance to our caravan park. And one of the councillors for Maryport saw that and came up with the idea for the sculpture in Maryport. It would have started out, and this is a Wendy answer, Russell might correct me here, it'll start out as a flat sheet of steel, a rather large flat sheet of steel, and then it's spun on a lathe into a semi-ellipse, really, isn't it? It's like a dished end. It's like a big wok with a straight edge around it. So we had two of those that were then welded together to create the ellipse shape. So a bit like a giant Smartie, but with a straight edge around the edges.
For me, it's pretty much bread and butter work. It's what I do, so there's not really...
It was just big on a bigger scale.
Just on a bigger scale of what we had already been doing, really.
So when we're creating a design, we think about how individual elements, what we want to include on the design, and then it's a case of merging it all together, because it's all got to join together.
Everything's drawn freehand by Andrew, and then the lads use a handheld plasma cutter.
We didn't want anything too overpowering on the back, because there's a lot of detail on the front. Mm-hmm. So the compass is very not basic, but it's very blocky. And of course, you've got like you said, you've got the anchor, there's the seagulls, and then there's the dolphins on there. Is it Mara the dolphin? That was added by one of the councillors. That was one of the elements they added to the design.
In fact, there's a bit of a story we've missed. The sculpture wasn't to go there.
No.
The sculpture was to go on one of the roads into Maryport as a welcome to Maryport.
Oh, yes, it was.
Bed, wasn't it?
It was meant to go on the flower bed near the go-karting place. Yeah. But highways wouldn't allow it, because they said it would be too much of a distraction. So they decided that it would go in its current place instead of on the way into Maryport.
It's a better location. It's
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I'd forgotten about that until I just thought about...
Did you have a pet name for it?
I just called it the Maryport project.
Yeah.
The big Smartie.
The big Smartie, yeah. It was really impressive to see it on the wagon going down the road, though, wasn't it? We were following in the car, and people were like, as it was going to the town, weren't they, like looking at this, what on earth's this coming along?
Mm-hmm.
But it did get, I mean, you always get people that are negative about things being done, saying, why are they spending money on that when they could be spending it on better public toilets but there's different money allocated for different things, but on the whole it was really, really well received.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Really well received. So yeah, it was very proud to see it go in.
And the last poem from Emma Gordon.
The light'll change, orange and pinks, the sun setting on the Solway as the lighthouse wonders at the vastness of sky. Harsh blue-grey of a morning as it comes up again from the mountainside of town. Maybe everything changes. Maybe everything is actually staying the same. I am just a human, and this is just the earth, and the sea is just a whisper telling different stories on each tide. And a town is just its people, and a name is just a language, a history just a story. Every street, a different journey, waiting to be made.
And just to finish, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Akehurst with the final song. What are you singing about, Ben, when you turn your mic on?
Hello, there you go. This one's about a seagull. Is it going to be quite a windy one, so I hope you enjoy it. There's honestly nothing else to it, it's just about a seagull, so I hope you like it.
There's things you won't see him do. While the sky is blue, the ships are sailing through. And you can find him if you can, and you can catch him if you can, but you won't. Ask him if he cares, but I believe I know the answer. There's things you won't believe he'll do. Oh, while you're standing on the pit, I hope you've got your heads looking down. He's not concerned about your eyes, he only cares about your pies, you know. You can ask him if he cares, but I believe I know the answer. There's things you won't see him do. And while he's living in your head, he could be smoking in your bed, you know.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Whoa.
That was about one of them things flying about in the sky.
We're joining in.
Seagull things. Is that alright for you? Thank you. Thank you for having me as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you to everyone.